70 million stray animals are roaming the streets of the United States right now. Roughly half of them are dogs. Out of all those millions, only about 6 million ever make it through the doors of a shelter. The rest are completely on their own. But across the country, in suburban garages and church parking lots and small-town backyards, something unexpected is happening. Regular Americans are picking up hammers, gathering scrap lumber, and building tiny, weatherproof homes for these dogs. Functional, insulated, waterproof shelters that cost about $100 in materials and a Saturday afternoon of labor. This is not some government program. There is no giant nonprofit writing checks. These are retired carpenters, Boy Scout troops, church groups, and weekend warriors who decided that if nobody else was going to fix this, they would start fixing it themselves. And the results are changing how we think about animal rescue in America. To understand why this movement matters, you have to look at the numbers, and they are rough. According to data from Shelter Animals Count, approximately 2.8 million dogs entered shelters and rescues in the first half of 2025 alone. Stray dogs made up about 56% of all those intakes, and the shelters taking them in? They are bursting at the seams. Across the country, government shelters handle nearly half of all dog and cat intakes, and many of them are operating well above capacity. Staff shortages, veterinarian shortages, and a growing number of animals with serious medical and behavioral needs have pushed the system to what experts are calling a national crisis. One executive director at Shelter Animals Count described it plainly when she said that some shelters have started turning animals away, reducing their hours, or closing their doors entirely. The situation is especially dire in southern states. Texas, California, North Carolina, Florida, and Georgia together account for roughly half of all shelter euthanasia cases in the country. The warm climate means larger stray populations, the cultural attitudes around pet ownership differ from region to region, and the resources in those regions simply cannot keep pace. A shelter in rural East Texas faces a fundamentally different reality than one in Portland, Oregon, where adoption demand actually exceeds supply. In some southern counties, animal control officers pick up more dogs in a week than the local shelter can process in a month. Now here is where the math gets really uncomfortable. Even as adoptions hold steady at around 2 million dogs per year, over 300,000 dogs were euthanized in shelters in 2025. That number has dropped dramatically from the 17 million annual euthanasia figure recorded back in 1984, which is real progress. Decades of spay and neuter campaigns, community education, and the growing no-kill movement have saved millions of lives. Today, about 52% of shelters in America operate as no-kill facilities, more than double the 24% recorded back in 2016. But 300,000 is still a staggering number of dogs that ran out of time and ran out of space. And traditional shelters, even the good ones, have a built-in problem that nobody talks about enough. It is wide kennel stress. When dogs sit in concrete runs, surrounded by barking and strange smells and constant noise, they start to deteriorate. They develop anxiety, aggression, and behavioral problems that make them harder to adopt, which means they stay longer, which means the shelter gets more crowded, which means the next dog coming in has even less room. It is a cycle that feeds on itself, and no amount of fundraising galas can fix the fundamental design problem of packing scared animals into loud, cold enclosures. That is exactly the insight that sparked the tiny home movement for shelter dogs. The idea is simple but brilliant. Instead of warehouse-style kennels, what if each dog had its own small, quiet, climate-controlled space with a private yard? What if we treated them less like inventory and more like, well, dogs? One organization leading this charge is the Animal Care Sanctuary, which began constructing individual tiny homes for its shelter dogs. Each unit is fully heated and air-conditioned, and every home gives the dog direct access to its own fenced-in yard with artificial turf. The results were immediate. Disease spread dropped because the dogs were no longer sharing air and surfaces in tight quarters. Behavioral problems decreased because the dogs were not drowning in constant stimulation, and adoption rates went up because the dogs people met during visits were calmer, happier, and better socialized. But those shelter-grade tiny homes cost real money. What about the millions of dogs that will never see the inside of a shelter at all? The ones living behind strip malls and under bridges and in the woods behind someone's property? That is where the $100 backyard builders come in. The House Project, which stands for Houses of Wood and Straw, has been building and delivering free wooden dog houses to outdoor dogs since 2008. Their volunteer workforce includes local school carpentry classes, Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops, youth mentoring groups, and animal-loving adults who show up on weekends with tools and good intentions. They distribute the finished houses along with straw bedding, food bowls, flea and tick prevention, sturdy nylon collars, and walking leads. And they do it all at no cost to the dog's family. Their design philosophy is worth paying attention to because it solves problems that cheap store-bought dog houses completely ignore. A proper outdoor dog house needs to be big enough for the dog to stand and turn around, but not much bigger than that. If the house is too large, the dog's body heat dissipates into empty space and the animal stays cold. The floor has to be elevated and insulated to keep moisture and ground temperature from creeping in. The opening needs to be offset, not centered, so that wind does not blow straight through the interior, and the roof should extend past the walls to block rain, snow, and direct sun. Wooden construction is key because wood insulates in the winter and breathes in the summer. Metal dog houses turn into ovens in July and freezers in January. Plastic holds up to weather but offers almost zero insulation. Wood, especially when you source it from reclaimed pallets and scrap lumber, hits the sweet spot of affordable, effective, and available. So what does a $100 build actually look like? You start with the foundation. 4 concrete blocks, or cinder blocks, set at the corners, with a wooden pallet or a simple framed platform resting on top. That elevated base keeps the floor roughly 6 inches off the ground, which prevents moisture wicking, rotting, and heat transfer from cold or hot earth. Next comes the floor. Plywood sheets attached to the pallet frame, with small drainage gaps at the edges. You want the floor solid enough to hold weight and insulate, but with just enough gap to let any water that gets tracked in drain out rather than pool. For the walls, you can use plywood panels, oriented strand board, or planks salvaged from old fencing. The back wall and side walls should be solid. The front wall gets the offset doorway cut to a size that matches the dog. A medium-sized dog needs an opening about 10 inches wide and 14 inches tall. For the door flap, thick, heavy plastic cut into overlapping strips and nailed across the top of the opening does a surprisingly good job of blocking wind and rain while still letting the dog push through easily. The roof slopes from front to back, angled enough to shed water and snow. A 1-inch rise for every 4 inches of run gives you the right pitch. Corrugated metal roofing panels from the hardware store work great and typically cost under $15 for a 4-foot section. Attach them with roofing screws that have rubber washers to prevent leaks at the screw holes. The overhang should extend at least 3 inches past the walls on all sides, creating a natural drip line that keeps water from running down the walls and pooling at the base. Some builders add a strip of aluminum flashing along the top edge of the front wall where it meets the roof to seal that joint completely. Now here is the step where most builds go from decent to forgettable. Paint or stain the exterior. It takes 30 minutes and about $8 worth of exterior grade paint, and it extends the life of the wood by years. Untreated plywood exposed to rain and sun starts delaminating within a single season. A couple of coats of outdoor paint, And that doghouse will still be standing 5 winters from now. Skip this step and you are rebuilding the whole thing next year. Insulation is where you turn a decent doghouse into something that genuinely saves lives during winter storms. Rigid foam insulation board, the pink or blue sheets you find at any home improvement store, fits between the wall studs and under the roof panels. One sheet of 2-inch thick EPS foam costs about $15 and covers a surprisingly large area when cut to fit. Some builders even line the inside walls with reflective insulation, the kind with a metallic surface that bounces radiant heat back toward the dog. It is the same basic principle that emergency thermal bags use to retain body heat, and it works remarkably well in a small enclosed space. Speaking of staying warm in the field, a few of the volunteer groups that do winter deliveries actually carry something called TerraShell in their trucks. It uses the same reflective thermal principle you just learned about, for the doghouse, but it is designed for the person building and delivering it. It packs down to the size of a soda can, costs less than a tank of gas, and when you are out on someone's rural property in January with frozen fingers, it bounces your body heat right back at you. Link is in the description if you are planning winter builds. Once your insulation is in place, the last step is bedding. This is the part where well-meaning people make the biggest mistake. Do not use blankets or old towels inside an outdoor doghouse. Cotton absorbs moisture from the dog's breath and body, and once it gets damp, it actually pulls heat away from the animal. Wet cotton conducts heat about 25 times faster than dry air, which means a damp blanket can make a dog colder than no bedding at all. Straw is the answer, not hay. Straw. Hay is green, holds moisture, and gets moldy quickly. Straw is golden, hollow-stemmed, and wicks moisture away while trapping insulating air pockets. A thick arrangement of straw inside the doghouse creates a warm, dry, sleeping surface that the dog naturally burrows into. Replace the straw every few weeks during winter or whenever it gets matted down. A bale of straw costs about $5 to $10 at any farm supply store and will fill multiple doghouses. When you add it all up, the total materials cost for a solid, insulated, weatherproof doghouse is right around $80 to $120. It will be less if you source reclaimed wood and donated materials, which is exactly what community build days are designed to do. And these community build events are where the movement really gains traction. Habitat for Humanity Restore locations have hosted Homes for the Hounds events where teams of volunteers compete to build the most creative dog houses. One winning entry from an electric company team featured solar-powered lights and a living plant roof. Even NASCAR drivers have shown up to support the cause. After the builds, the finished houses are displayed in the store for public voting, then auctioned off with proceeds supporting both the shelter and Habitat's housing mission. More than 2,000 people voted online for their favorite house during one recent event. Local no-kill shelters bring adoptable dogs to the event, including rescue dogs pulled from flooding and natural disasters. It creates a perfect intersection of community building, animal welfare, and hands-on volunteer work that people actually want to attend. The ripple effects go beyond the dogs themselves. High school carpentry students who build dog houses learn real construction skills like measuring, cutting, framing, and roofing that translate directly into trade careers. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts earn service badges while learning that community impact does not require a $1 million budget. And retirees who spent 40 years in construction trades get to use those skills for something that matters long after they have left the job site. Down in Argentina, a grassroots group called Proyecto Ambulatorio has taken a similar approach on a different scale. With permission from neighborhood residents, volunteers place hand-built wooden houses on street corners for dogs that live in the area. They also vaccinate and sterilize each dog, track its health over time, and actively look for permanent homes. Their slogan translates to, "If I cannot give them my home, I will build them a roof." They accept donated materials instead of money, and the initiative has spread across multiple cities, filling parks and neighborhoods with small wooden shelters. What makes all of these projects work is not just the carpentry, it is the follow-up. House Project does not just drop off a doghouse and drive away. They return to check on the dogs, replenish a straw, deliver flea prevention, and educate the dog's family about proper outdoor animal care. They also install fencing to get dogs off chains, which is another underappreciated intervention. A dog on a chain cannot run, play, or seek shade, and it cannot escape standing water or aggressive animals. Getting dogs off chains and into fenced areas with proper shelter transforms their daily existence. If you are watching this and thinking about starting something like this in your own community, the path is more straightforward than you might expect. Start by reaching out to your local animal shelter or humane society. Ask them what they need. In many cases, they will tell you that outdoor dog houses for their community outreach programs are desperately needed. Talk to local lumber yards, hardware stores, and construction companies about material donations. Scrap wood, leftover plywood, and surplus roofing materials are sitting in dumpsters behind job sites all over the country. Most contractors are happy to donate them rather than pay disposal fees. Organize a build day at your church, your school, your VFW hall, or just your driveway. Post it on local community boards and social media groups. You will be surprised how many people show up when the project is tangible. The timeline is short, and they can see the finished product going to a dog in need that same weekend. For placement, choose spots that are out of the prevailing wind, protected from standing water after rain, and accessible for the dog. If you are placing a house on someone else's property, always ask permission first. Some builders mark the GPS coordinates of each shelter they place so volunteers can return for maintenance and bedding replacement throughout the year. The stray dog crisis in America is not going to be solved by one approach. We need better shelter infrastructure, expanded spay and neuter programs, more pet-friendly housing policies, and stronger community support systems to keep animals in their homes. All of that takes years and money and political will, but a $100 doghouse takes a Saturday afternoon, a trip to the hardware store, maybe a couple of phone calls to find reclaimed lumber. You just need a saw, a drill, some plywood, and the willingness to spend a few hours building something that matters. And for the dog sleeping in it tonight instead of on frozen ground behind a strip mall, it changes everything. A dry floor instead of a mud puddle, walls that block the wind coming off the highway, a roof that keeps the rain off her back for the first time in months. She does not know your name, but she knows she is warm, and that is enough.